As odd as it may sound, a large portion of my family, myself included, would not exist were it not for a surprising and unusual course of events set into motion by none other than a goat. This all started in 1922 in the small coal mining town of White Ash, Illinois. My great-grandparents lived, with their 4 children, in a run-down shack with a dirt floor and a pot-bellied stove. Their one small luxury was their goat. The goat gave them milk, which they could not only drink, but also sell and barter. This gave them a slight economic advantage, which was a source of family pride. On that fateful day, the youngest child was sick. My great-grandmother, pregnant with her 5th child at the time, decided to take him to a doctor. Because my great-grandfather was busy working in mines, she was forced to leave her eldest son in charge. He was only 8 years old at the time, but he would have to do. She left him with instructions not to let the fire go out, and under no circumstances to let the goat escape. Fortunately, the fire started to burn low, so we went to gather wood. While he was out, the prized goat escaped. When my great-grandmother returned, she recognized the dire situation. My great-grandfather was not a kind man, and she feared he would react violently to the loss. Fearing for her safety and that of her children, she packed up and fled to St. Louis to live with her sister. Shortly thereafter, she gave birth to her child and named it Joe. 10 years later, things were much different. She'd opened a grocery store and become a successful businesswoman, something unheard of in that day. But all of this was not enough to prevent tragedy from striking again. Joe drowned in a lake, and my family's history was again altered. Word of the death reached his father, who traveled to St. Louis for the funeral. What happened next is unclear, but it is known that my great-grandparents briefly reconciled. 9 months later, he was gone, but evidence of his return remained. Another child was born, named after his deceased sibling. This second Joe would, in his adult life, have 3 children of his own. They are my aunt, uncle, and mother. Were it not for this unusual sequence of events, my grandfather, by extension my mother and then I, would never have been born. It is quite possible that I owe my very existence to this odd sequence of events, all starting with the goat.
The lesson in all of this is that no matter how unfortunate the event, there can still be a positive outcome. Through the unfortunate loss of the goat and the tragic death of a child, my family as I know it came to be. Were it not for these tragedies, I and many of the people I love would not exist today. As the saying goes, even the darkest of clouds has a silver lining.